Again, well, this week, Australia's largest pharmaceuticals manufacturer, Pfizer, will lay down a challenge to the federal government. Once and for all, it should fix our healthcare system. A health technology assessment policy review is right now sitting on the health minister's desk, and it's a chance to improve health outcomes for all Australians by providing better treatments and drugs more quickly, which might also kickstart our research and development for new treatments. Anne Harris is the Chief Executive of Pfizer Australia. She was an important voice in the health debate during the COVID pandemic when the company was rolling out its vaccine. I caught up with her this week and started by asking a very simple but direct question. Is Australia's healthcare system right now fit for purpose?
No, it's not. The reviews are in place because it's not fit for purpose. And it clearly points to a system that has been working effectively to a level for over 30 years. We have had the same system in place for how we evaluate and bring medicines to the public through the PBS. The time is now to look at the review and the recommendations and make changes to ensure that Australians now and into the future have the opportunity to have the innovation that is going to make a difference to their lives.
So, can you give me an example as to why you believe it's not fit for purpose? Where is it letting Australians down?
Well, one key area that probably most Australians don't even know is that it takes 466 days on average for a medicine that has been shown to be safe and effective by regulators to actually make it onto the PBS, the Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme, where it can be broadly used by clinicians and patients. That is about 100 days slower than the OECD average, and in fact 300 days slower than the UK, Japan and Germany. So what it means is that Australians, when new technology and innovation is coming, and there is an innovation revolution happening in sciences at the moment, we are continuing to be behind and falling behind in terms of clinicians' ability to treat patients with the latest technology.
So with that example in particular, where is the blockage? What is it that takes so much time to get those treatments onto the PBS?
There's probably two factors. So the system itself is cumbersome, it's clunky, it takes a long time. So there are recommendations which we believe the government now has because they have received the report from the HTA Review Committee with recommendations on how it will change. There are elements which are about the system being slow and cumbersome, and then there's elements which are we do not value innovation to its full extent. We continue to see medicines and vaccines as a cost, not an incentive and a driver of our productivity. And I think we have to change our thinking. If we are going to address the system change and the change we need as Australians going into the future, we need to be thinking about investment in medicines and vaccines the same way we think about, say, infrastructure, because our workforce is the foundation of our productivity. If we are healthier, we will be wealthier.
Don't you think that Australians learnt during the pandemic the importance of vaccines for productivity, to be able to get a workforce moving, to have people keep their jobs and not lose their jobs? Weren't they the lessons? Isn't that what government should learn right now?
It absolutely was the lesson. It was very, very clear that vaccination had a huge contributing factor. And in fact, now it's been shown that through research that, in fact, the broad vaccination program delivered almost $181 billion back to the economy. So it absolutely is an investment. However, that is not translating into the systems that are in place where we value innovation. So right now, productivity is not a factor that is even considered when you bring a new product to Australia.
So can I just ask you, this week you've seen former premiers, Dominic Perrottet being one, saying that mandatory vaccination was a mistake for governments to make. In hindsight, do you believe that?
Mandatory vaccination was a decision by the government at the time when we were in a crisis. And I think all of us can look back and have different views on whether that was positive or negative. What I know is that vaccinations have been shown over decades to be the most impactful intervention into public health at the most cost-effective, in the most cost-effective way. And so vaccination, we believe, is a critical element for prevention. And in prevention, Australia is continuing to fall further and further behind.
Okay, but this report doesn't just go to vaccination. It goes to the whole area of medical science. Myriad treatments that Australians could have access to, which they don't. The problem is also the disincentive for the scientists in Australia to bring this technology to being here in Australia, as compared with taking their skills and knowledge overseas, where they'll find capital, where they'll find bigger markets, where they'll find greater abilities for their science to be used amongst the population.
And I think that goes to the fact that the life sciences sector is a sector that brings value to Australia. It's a big employer, and it supports high advanced skilled labour, as you just talked about. You need to have an ecosystem that works. So you need a policy ecosystem that supports research and development. Currently, Australia is running behind and falling behind in its research and development by government. And if you want to attract investment from research and development companies, such as Pfizer, then we really need to see a path forward from when you go through research and development, through clinical trials, to commercialisation and to the PBS. And right now, that path is difficult, and often it doesn't happen. We are seeing more and more products that are coming to Australia being evaluated. Either there's a slow evaluation, or sometimes we are now seeing the products are not making it onto the PBS and not being available at all.
So just go to this, because there are breakthrough drugs, and we can go to the weight loss drugs as one pretty good example right now, where you're seeing Wegovy only just being announced onto the PBS in the last week or so. You know, Ozempic had been there for some time. But it goes to the fact that there is fast change in the whole technology around drugs, around treatments right now. And you've got to be at the forefront of that.
There is an innovation revolution in science. So if you think about the digital revolution changing multiple industries, it's having exactly the same impact in terms of research.
So that's partly artificial intelligence, right?
Partly artificial intelligence. So what artificial intelligence offers in the development space is to be able to look at multiple compounds very quickly to see how proteins fold on each other, and have the development process, the development of drugs being shortened, but also in manufacturing. So AI is making manufacturing simpler, easier, faster. On top of that, we are seeing incredible breakthroughs in technology. So, you know, mRNA is one, obesity is another, but we are now seeing in spaces of precision medicine where you can have a targeted therapy that addresses the very specific type of cancer that you may have, that I may have the same cancer, but it is different. So it's a targeted therapy. It allows you to get the right treatment faster, and you can be sure that it's the right one for you. You're seeing other areas which are in the space of gene therapy. This is across the industry. There's been a lot of research and development happening across the industry. The gene therapy area is where, you know, you might have a gene that has a glitch in it, it's not producing the proteins, or it's producing a faulty protein, causing an illness. You now have the opportunity to actually go in and fix that gene, so you can stop the progression of the disease. That's how it's designed to work with one treatment. You're seeing changes that are going to happen continuously, because the innovation that's happening in science is revolutionising our ability to treat diseases. And what concerns me is that we have a system now that is really not fit for purpose, that is not dealing with the products that we have right now in an effective way, getting it through from research through to the PBS. But we have these revolutionary products that are going to be coming. And unless we fix our system, we will continue to fall further and further behind.
But yes, there are outcomes for the community and for productivity. But there's one other part about this. If Australia innovates and creates those treatments, creates those drugs itself, if there's an incentive for people to create these treatments, it can revolutionise exports and the economy itself.
Indeed. Australia has some really foundational elements here, and the government has recognised that, and it is investing. there's just more that needs to be done to fulfil a really robust policy ecosystem. And so really what you can see is that we have strong universities, we have a strong public health system in terms of hospitals, ripe areas for research and development and clinical trials. But unless you can connect that through to commercialising a product and having it reimbursed and funded on the PBS, you cannot draw forward investment. You will not get the investment, you will not get the productivity, and we will not have the health that Australians deserve and need.
Anne Harris, as always, it's great to chat to you. Many thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.